Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Shine In and Out, the space where science meets soul. I'm Sammy Stoltz, your host, and today's guest is someone who radiates abundance. Sharan Sammi is a manifesting abundance mentor, an intuitive healer, a psychic medium, and a sidereal astrologist who went from 20 years in corporate banking to living her soul-led calling. She helps women rewire their beliefs, activate wealth, and step fully into their greatness. Her journey is rich with synchronicities and science-backed shifts, and she's here to show us how to create our dream life with clarity, courage, and connection. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful souls. I just wanted to take a quick pause in this conversation to invite you to something special. I'm building a community. Right now, it's starting as a group on Facebook, and it is called the Shine In and Out Community. And it's a space for like-minded people who are ready to grow, to be real and vulnerable, and to support one another in becoming healthier and happier every day. It's not about pretending we have it all figured out. It's about being vulnerable, sharing the wins and the struggles, and walking the journey together. My vision is that this community becomes more than just a group online, that we rethink social media and in-person interactions, and one day when you see the Shine In and Out symbol, whether it be a piece of jewelry, a sticker, a pin, or some form of attire, you'll know that you've spotted someone else who's ready and on the same path, open-hearted, like-minded, and committed to growth. So if you've been craving a space to share your story, get encouragement, and give encouragement, I'd love to see you there. Just search for the Shine In and Out community on Facebook and join us. We can't wait to have you. Okay, Sharan. So I heard you say that you're a serial manifester. What does that mean? And when was the first time that you realized that it was real?
Well, that's a great question, Sammy. It really is. Basically, manifestation, I have been doing it for my whole life. And I believe each and every one of us are actual manifestors. The key difference, though, is whether you're manifesting the things that you want compared to the things that you don't want. So with me personally, it was like a journey from, I'm going to say, a whole incredible lifetime of positive manifestations. Started when I was about 6 years old, literally entered a painting competition that my mom got back from a bank in a magazine, and I opened it up at 6 years old, and it was a painting competition. So I got all my arts and crafts out, got really creative, painted this picture of me and my siblings in the park. My mom sent the entry off, and then 2 weeks later I got a letter, because obviously back then, I'm talking like 30, 40 years ago, back then there was no email or internet. So I got this letter and it was addressed to me. So I opened it with my mom, and I'd won 4 tickets to a local theme park here in the UK. To which I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I just painted a picture and I won this competition. So then from that, Sammy, what I started to do was like literally enter competitions in the newspaper, teletext, on the TV we had teletext, and, just newspaper competitions. And I won different things, like back in the day you had those big cameras, those video cameras. So I won one of those. I won a bizarre thing, was like an invitation to Tom and Jerry's birthday party, which I was 8 years old at the time. So I got dressed up in my dress and my hair was really long with all of my jewelry. And my mom dropped me off and we played party games, and I had this goodie bag with all these Tom and Jerry things. So from a very young age, I was literally entering these competitions, winning all of this stuff, thinking, and it was setting my neuro pathways to think, okay, anything is possible, which is like my mantra now, my Facebook group name, anything is possible, because you can achieve, I always say, your true greatness where anything is possible. And then I went on to like winning a brand new car in a radio competition, weekend all inclusive paid for, trips to like London, to Paris, to Miami, all these like great and wonderful things, my soulmate relationship. There's so many different examples I can give you. But it really started for me. It was all about those neuro pathways forming, but also then believing, that you can actually achieve the things. And I'm not saying that my whole life was plain sailing and I didn't have any negativity or limiting beliefs, because I did. I did. I had loads, but this is just about, working on your mindset. And I do believe like self-improvement. I have self-improvement as a way of life. It's just one of those things that I love to do. And,
Me too.
everybody listening to this is like part of your personal development as well.
That is an incredible story. I'm so glad
Thank you.
you started so early. And yeah, just that belief system. It's when we have that focus and that emotional anchor, that, gratitude in advance, the, feeling ready for that opportunity, you activate your brain's reticular activating system, and it filters in those opportunities that are aligned with those
Yeah.
internal expectations. So it seems like magic, but it's actually your biology working with your intention. And
Yeah.
wow, you are a prime example of that. That is
Thank you.
incredible. So, why do you think so many people struggle with money, and how would you help shift that story with your clients?
Yeah, that's a big one. It really is because money mindset is like huge. And, I actually cover this with my clients, as you just mentioned, but it is huge. And I would say, first of all, it starts with your own unique money story because we all have a money story, each and every one of us. We could all read the same books, we could watch the same YouTube, channels and audios and things, but we're all going to have a different perspective because our viewpoint is so unique to us. So I always say, first of all, with money mindset, the reason I would say people struggle the most, first of all, is it comes down to childhood pre-programming as one of the aspects. And I do feel there's 4 different aspects which I can cover with you. And I know that we've got like a limited time on this podcast, but I'm just going to literally just give you
We'll
the
make
top
it
end
work.
stuff.
We'll make it work.
But yeah, so first of all, it's like the childhood stuff. So up to the age of when you're about 6 or 7 years old, our brains are like sponges. And I know, Sammy, you're into the science side of things. So you can probably talk about the scientific side of things, but in terms of holistically, it's like a sponge. So really, when you're around your parents, your siblings, society, extended family, teachers, people like that, the way that they talk, the way that they act, and in particular how they are about money, you then filter that into your own, your own mindset in terms of like formulating. So that's now my money belief. So a quick example is, how many times as a child did you hear the word no? No, we can't have that. You're going to a toy shop or a sweet shop or a clothes shop.
Real.
No, put that back. We can't afford it. That's too expensive. No, you can't have that. And it's just no, no, no. Money, the scarcity, the lack, not afford it, can't have it, don't have enough. And that then links into worthiness. Oh, I'm not worthy of this. Oh, I can't have this because, it's too expensive, or, I'm not good enough to have this. So then it formulates your money mindset and your money beliefs. Like, oh, if I go to a particular shop, we can't afford it. And then over the years, when you start then growing up and into adulthood, it kind of affects the way that you think, the beliefs that you have, which is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again. But then that's coming directly from your subconscious, which has stored those memories from childhood. Which means sometimes then when you go through life, and I experience this a lot with clients, they're working, they're in a paid employment job in corporate or wherever they're working, or they've got a business, but then they don't seem to get the clients, or they don't seem to progress. They're in the same job role, doing the same thing. They see people coming in younger than them, less experienced, but they get ahead further than where they are, and they go for job interviews, they try and get promoted, but they always seem to not get the promotion or not get the clients in their business. And then when we unravel, it's a little bit like an onion. So you unravel back the layers of where is this pre-programming, where has it come from? And you go back to the root cause. And the root cause could have been, you were in a shop at 3 years old and you wanted to buy the sweets, but then your mom said, or your dad said, oh, that's too expensive, put that back. We don't have enough money, we can't have that. And then you hear these analogies like, money doesn't grow on trees. We don't have enough. Have you heard those analogies? Oh, rich people are greedy. You should be happy. You should be grateful for what you have. You don't need more money because money's not going to make you happy. All of that things. But money does actually give you choices, which then gives you the lifestyle, which then ultimately gives you that happiness. So it is about looking at the childhood aspects, the old money stories, but then it goes even deeper. So the deeper levels are, it could even go to your ancestral DNA chain.
Yes.
So what were your parents' thoughts? What were your your grandparents? How about your great-grandparents? What did they feel about money? How did they view money? What were their beliefs around money? Because it goes through the DNA ancestral chain. But then it goes even deeper by another level. And I do astrology as well. And looking at a
Okay.
person's like individual date of birth, personalized astrology chart, you can pinpoint and see where the karmic aspects, the soul aspects, the money aspects and the wealth creation in particular in a person's chart, but also past lives could have a big thing on your self-worth, your visibility, your whole money concept and how to generate money in this lifetime. So that could be either blocking you or it could help you progress further. And then you've got the soul path. What are your life lessons in this lifetime that you need to learn, in particular, maybe around money or even relationships, because it's all interlinked. So it's a big, huge, area, but it's one that's worth diving into. So if you're listening right now, one exercise that you could do is literally get a pen and paper or just think out loud. What are the 3 things that come to mind right now when you think about money? And then literally just think, okay, do you think that actually when you look at your bank account, it's scarcity, I don't have enough. Money comes, but then it goes. I always seem to struggle. Money is a struggle. I don't have enough. I need more. I need more. Or is it that, it comes in abundance. I love money. Money's my best friend. I always have enough money. See the 2 different areas? It's scarcity or it's like the abundant mindset. So it's about switching people from the scarcity over to the abundance.
Totally. I have a lot to say about what you said. So what you said about your brain being a sponge as a child, 100%. And it's not just money, it is everything. So I, with clients have to work through the root causes, distinguishing between what's really yours, your soul, your thoughts, your individuality, and what's something that was programmed into you subconsciously that is just so ingrained that you didn't realize it wasn't you. And then, like you said, in your DNA, there are studies about epigenetics that your great grandparents' stress about money could be yours. So the
Yeah.
good thing is that work like this and unraveling it does work. So I'm sure all of your clients have seen that. And even the astrology aspect, I know a lot of people just look at it as, a pseudoscience or whatnot. But even Carl Jung, the psychologist, he used astrology as a tool to help his patients understand themselves. It was less about prediction and more about the awareness, the understanding of the patterns through symbolic frameworks. And it actually did and still does help people improve their self-regulation and their decision making because they have a sort of stronger basis to go off of. So that is really awesome. So you talk about 9 essential abundance keys. Could you walk us through those as well?
Yeah, totally, totally. So, in terms of the 9 essential abundance keys, what actually happens is I take my clients through a journey of the abundance system, which are the 9 essential keys to really unlock all of the wealth, all of the prosperity, all of the money, all of the abundance that you may need in your lifetime, and going even beyond that. So what happens is we go through a journey of, I call it like the 9 essential keys. Now with this, the 9 essential keys, it's basically, Sammy, my journey. Okay, it's literally my journey over. I started my personal development journey like 19 years ago, where I trained in various coaching and healing modalities. Not realizing it was just for fun at the time, but not realizing it would actually set myself up in the future for when I left the corporate banking world after a 20-year banking career. It actually set me up to then start as an entrepreneur with my coaching and healing business. So in terms of the 9 essential keys, they are based in 3 different core stages. So we've got the explore stage, first of all, which is all about setting the foundations, because you've got it. It's like if you think about the analogy of like you're building a house. You're setting the foundations first of all, and then when you set the foundations, that's when everything can grow. It's like you're planting the seeds, for everything, everything to grow from there. So with the 3 essential keys in the first stage of explore, which is about setting the foundations, the first element of that is all about creating an awareness. So you've got to really know where you are right now in your life. Okay. And this is literally getting deep, getting raw in every area of your life, because you could even discover, which I find a lot with clients, where they tend to then discover that they're putting so much time and energy on their career, on their work, trying to get the pay rise, trying to get more clients in their business. And they're focusing so much on their work aspect, even to the point of burnout, but at the detriment of their health. because they're not going to
Yes.
the gym, they're not exercising, they're not, looking after their diet, eating the nutritional food, they're eating the fast food, the processed food, or it's also at the detriment of their relationship because they're not spending quality time with their partner. And even if they are with their partner, they're still on their phone, they're still thinking about work, and they're definitely not thinking about their children, because they're just thinking work, work, work. I have to be this level of success. So it's really having the awareness of where you are right now, and then really going raw, going deep into determining, well, actually, what are my actual goals? What is it that I want in my life, not just for myself, but for the sake of my family, for the people, my loved ones around me. So then it's really looking at the different techniques and tools to really identify what is it that, what's your purpose? What's your soul purpose? What is it that you ultimately desire? Is it that you want a soulmate relationship, but you also want a fantastic business, and you also want to generate the money, and you also want perfect health, which you can have it all? Because like I said to you, Sammy, before, anything is possible. So you can actually have everything you want. So then that's the first key. And then we go through a journey, and I call it a soul discovery journey. So you go through the different essential keys. The second one is, I'll just give you a quick overview of boldness, which is really formulating your so really aligning yourself to your true values. Because a lot of the time we feel, some people could feel like misaligned, and then they wonder why isn't this working? I want the pay rise, or I want that new job, or I want that soulmate relationship, but why isn't it working? And it could be because you're so misaligned with your values, with your mission statement, as I call it. So we take a bird's eye view and look downwards at your life and go really bold. What is your audacious, like big, huge dream? So we do that. And then the next essential key is uncover. So this is where we start the whole money concept of really diving deep into yourself, your thoughts about money, your thoughts about love, relationships, life. You uncover everything. We go into certain aspects of budgeting. So you really look at your finances from a top end perspective to discover where you are right now compared to where you want to get to. So that's like the foundational stage of explore. Then we go into the second stage, which is all about experience. And this is like the healing aspect for radical change. And it's needed really, because for you where you are right now, you go on this journey to get to where you need to get to. But along the way, and I know that we've probably all discovered this, even yourself, Sammy, and everybody listening, there's always like the barriers, the crossroads, the stumbling in the block, in the roadway, those blocks and things. So this is about really working through them, really working through them. So we go through the 3 essential keys here of navigate and discover and also alignment. So this is really going through your old money story, looking at your belief system, looking at your subconscious programming, accessing your highest truth. And then we go on to the alignment module, which is all about building wealth strategies so that you can really diversify, you can see that financial growth. So it's really taking you on a journey. And then you go through the last section, which is the last stage, which is about expansion. And this is really about activating your personal power. So it's all about nurturing. So this is about nurturing yourself, nurturing your energy, your relationship with money. Then it formulates confidence. So it's about, the visibility, being able to go out there boldly, have that unstoppable confidence. To then the final essential key is all about empowerment. So when you actually feel that whole empowerment, you have that whole, I'm going to call it 360 degrees, you have everything, that you really desire, energetically, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, psychologically, everything kind of comes together. So I take my clients through this journey, through this program, which is my group signature program. But then what happens is they have lifetime access to the modules. So they don't just, and I've had clients where they've gone through the system once, and then what they do is, because they've up leveled, at that stage, they've got new thought processes, new beliefs, new limiting beliefs that even come through as well, new associations. So what happens then is they go through the whole 3 stages again, and then they advance even further. So this is basically what I do. It's like a rinse and repeat throughout my life. Like the last 9, this is everything that I've been doing, like the gratitude, the vision boards, the affirmations, looking at your old money story, formulating your new money story, going through the hypnosis. There's so many angles and aspects of this. So clients come to me and they say, oh, I'm struggling with this. And if they're in the program, I'll say, okay, go to module 4, part 3. That's where you're going to find that. Redo that module, and they do that. And then, different parts are for different, areas of your life and where you're at, different stages.
I love that. And it's really a systems approach, which is what I use in everything with my clients. It's
Yeah.
aligning the mindset, the body, the environment, the energy, and that's what makes change sustainable. And it's so much more powerful than just trying to tackle one area. So you were talking about you can do it all, and I love that. I want that, and I'm sure all of us do. The balance between health and career and relationships and all of the other responsibilities and joys in life. What is a key that you can impart upon us for finding that balance?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So finding the balance, I would say, first of all, it's about ultimately, and I'm going to go back to the first abundance key, because it is all about having the awareness, because it is about what is it that you want. And sometimes when I openly ask people, and especially my clients, when they come to work with me, I'm like, what is it that you ultimately want? And they'll openly say, I don't know. I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
And this is, and I say, well, if you did know what you want, what would that look like? And I put them into this whole meditative state of like mindfulness. And then they come out with, oh, I want to go to Dubai. I want to take my children and, play on the beach. And I want to look in my husband's eyes and have a cocktail. And I want to go to Disneyland. I want to go to the Grand Canyon. And, all of these things come up. But initially they say, oh, I don't know. And the reason is because it comes back to the childhood pre-programming. You can, it's about, sometimes, as a child, parents might say, oh, be quiet. You're okay. What I'm trying to think of that analogy, you can be seen, but not heard, you can be seen in the room, but not heard, and then when they want to talk about things, a lot of the time, previously in the past, many parents might have been emotionally detached. Not talking to their in a way where, they're encouraging, where they're bringing through their dreams and their desires. Because back then, maybe generations ago, it was all about being hard working. The job is for life. Work hard. At school, get all the qualifications, go to university, have a degree, settle into a job, work hard. Long working hours. It's a job for life. Well, that's obviously gone over the last 20, 30 years, but that was the connotation, that was the belief. And I think it's been instilled into so many of us. And so it's about like going back to that onion analogy, peeling back the layers to really discover, first of all, what is it that you want? And then in answer to your question, because I've gone off on various tangents, in answer to the question about balance, then it's about, okay, really feeling into like, where is your life right now? And how can you make those improvements? So I'll give you some examples. Like I've had clients where they've just been like 24/7, just working so hard, like 12, 14 hours a day, where one particular client comes to my mind at the moment. And she said to me, she said, I'm married, got a loving husband, got a son who was about 9 years old at the time. She said, but me and my husband's relationship, it's like ships in the night. We just pass each other. We don't have any proper like relationship. We don't talk. We don't spend time together. And my son, he doesn't even know who his mommy is. And that's quite emotional, to actually have somebody that says that. Getting emotional. Because it's like they spend so much time working at the detriment of having that relationship with their partner, having that relationship with their children. And this is the thing. So the key things that we did here was really acknowledge, how is she feeling in this moment? Yes, work is there. Yes, she needs to, she wants to progress in the workplace, but it doesn't have to be at the detriment of not seeing her partner and not having a proper relationship with her son. So we made a few changes. We did some of the healing aspects of the limiting beliefs, and really put into perspective, actually, what can she do to improve the relationship with her son, to improve the relationship with her husband, and really like take back the layers and go really raw, and go back to the basics. And, and then over time she did improve, we went through the limiting beliefs, she healed on that level. But even if you're listening to this right now and you think, actually, that might sound like me, or you need to make some improvements in your life, what I would recommend is get a pen and paper again, and I call it success journal. Get your notebook and just write down, what are the 3 things that are important to you right now? There's three things. And it could be your energy level. It could be that maybe, you've got IBS, or you've got arthritis, or you've got anxiety, and you're struggling, you've got a lot of tension, you can't sleep, you've got insomnia. So you just want to pick up your energy. It could be that you want to hear your children laugh or your grandchildren laugh. It could be that you want to, look after your health and lose a few pounds or a few kgs or something. Write it all down and then think to yourself, okay, well, what small changes, and it's just small little changes that you can do to help that. And it could be like even to the point of going to sleep a little bit earlier, moving away from the mobile phone distraction, even if it means getting a book and reading a book for 20 minutes, listening to a mindfulness meditation or something like that. That could help you with your energy. And then obviously with your children, with your partner, just allocating and blocking time out to be with them, to be present, moving away from the mobile phone, which is like a really bad, we spend so much time scrolling on social media, just endless time scrolling on social media, when you could use that quality time for your personal development and also for building those relationships with your partner, with your children, with your siblings, with your social circle. So it's just about really putting it to the forefront of your mind, the perspective, having that focus, and then that can open you up to manifesting the things that you desire.
Totally. And the phones, I completely agree. And I don't want people to blame themselves, because obviously it's addicting for a reason. Our brains and our bodies were trained to conserve energy. So if you can get high amounts of dopamine by literally just flicking your thumb, you're going to do it. But as long as you're aware of that, you can shift that pattern. And it's crazy because when you were talking about the generation that was just work is life. And one, I'm so glad that we're moving away from that. And I think in every generation we get better about seeing our children and hearing them.
Yeah.
But when you were talking about that, I was like, man, everybody must have been burnt out in that period. But the truth is, everyone's burnt out now because we're also trying to uphold the same standards subconsciously from previous generations.
Yeah.
But we're overstimulated constantly by our phones. And when you're overstimulated like that, your nervous system can't handle it and you're going to burn out. And I even watch myself, I'm very busy and I keep telling myself like, okay, you got to make some time. Like, you got to just like sit there and be silent for a minute because I know where this is going. I've been that person that I worked too hard. I was the 4.0 perfectionist president, all of that. And my body yelled at me quite strongly. And thank goodness I learned those lessons early, and I'll never let myself get to that point again. But what I'm trying to do is help people never get to that point, right? I don't want you to have this triggering event, this trauma, this, extreme loss of somebody or your own health that makes you want to change. I want you to change so that you never have to experience that and that you can have that balance and have it all. That's absolutely, absolutely. So as far as the banking world, I'm curious, I'm sure that spending 20 years there, you saw patterns, you learned things that really contribute to your coaching. What were some of the things that stood out, that it taught you?
Yeah, thank you. So whilst at university, I started in the banking industry, just part-time, just cashiering, which I have so many stories. Cashiering as a student is it's great to gain that experience, but it's also great to be around that type of money, because I can recall when I was 18 years old. I mean, I also had like a waitressing job when I was 16 years old and a telesales job, which was so fun with all my friends. But then when I was at university, I had like part-time hours at a local bank where I was studying at university, and I was cashiering. So people would come in to deposit their cash, and a lot of businesses as well. And so I had my own till, screen, inputting everything and stuff. And that's when I realized, wow, I'm around all of this physical cash. Like, you're handling thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. And I can remember this one particular Saturday, the queue was at the door. And I had all of this cash. And what you have to do is when you get £20 notes here in the UK and even £10 notes and £50 notes, you bundle them up into 10,000s. And I can remember, and then when you have a bundle of a 10,000, you say to the head cashier, can you go and put this in the safe? And I can remember I kept saying to the head cashier, I've got all this cash, can you put it into the safe? To which he said, oh no, we're too busy, just keep it in your till. To the point of, if you can just imagine this, I had literally one drawer and at the bottom, and then the till at the top, the drawer at the top, which was like, all the cash coming in, I'd put it in, and then I count all of the cash and bag it up and put it into the bottom drawer. And the reason this is funny is because that actual drawer was quite deep, but it overflowed. Literally, it was overflowing, and it was like overflowing of abundance, I call it now when I look back. It was all this money, and the head cashier saying, keep it. I don't want it. I can't put it in the safe yet. Keep it. And the queue was literally out the doors to the point where I had to close my till, bag it all up. And I can remember I had £80,000 in 8 bags. And my till was my drawer was so full that I had nowhere to put this cash, and she wouldn't take the cash away from me. So the best thing I could do was literally, and this is going to sound quite bad, but I was 18 years old at the time, was literally put it under my feet and use it as a footstool, to which I did. So I literally had about 60,000 of cash under my feet as a footstool. And then I thought to myself, gosh, this is the life. Like I'm surrounded by this money. And not that it lost its value, but it kind of just thought in my mind that, oh my gosh, money is around. Money is everywhere. You can really get this money. Money is everywhere. And I was 18 at the time, finished my financial markets, like banking degree, got onto like a graduate position. So I had 3 graduate job roles offered to me, which was an amazing position to be in. And I think I manifested them, by the way. And I was in a dilemma, like, which bank do I go with for my graduate job? And so I re-interviewed the managers back. I literally rung them up, the head offices, and said, can I actually have a meeting with this manager, please, who's going to be my manager if I accept this role? So I had these 3 different meetings with these 3 different banks. And I was literally like about 20 years old at the time, like literally just graduated from university almost. Had these graduate job offers, and I met with these managers, and I said, the first question was, thank you for the job position. Why do you feel I should work for you? To which I did get 2 of them burst out laughing. They're like, are you seriously asking us? I'm like, yeah, I'm in a dilemma right now because I've got 3 job offers and I don't know what to do. So I'm asking you, why should I work for you? So I literally just sat there, and I'm like 20 years old, suited and booted. And I did that. And then I went for the one that felt energetically the right one to do. And I got a 10.1% pay rise before I'd even stepped foot in that office. And I was sworn to secrecy. Don't tell the other 11 graduates because you're going to be on a higher salary, like 10.1% like pay rise before I'd even got into the office. So that was like magical, absolutely magical. But then here's the thing. This is the thing that the banking world taught me, that everything is energy and not everybody is the same as you. We are all unique. Like we mentioned right at the start, Sammy and listeners, we mentioned right at the start about our whole unique money mindset. So when I'm in this corporate office filled with about 50 different people, you've got the high directors, middle directors, lower directors. Each of them have got an assistant. You've got different teams in the banking office doing different roles. You've got the admin, the PA. You've got the head of the whole office. And then you've got little old me come in, and I'm a graduate, and I'm like, probably on the lowest pay, I got the 10.1% pay rise, so I think I was probably midway. Known as the glorified tea and coffee maker, had to do the filing, the faxing, all of that admin type stuff. And I got a lot of resistance from the assistants in the office. So that 1 year of my graduate scheme, it really opened my eyes because I was going on a lot of leadership training courses because I was on the graduate scheme. But when I was in the office, I was like the assistant to the assistant. And they were giving me like 50 rounds of cups and teas, to which I was really defensive, and I felt really sad and very angry and very frustrated, to the point when I then stopped after about a couple of weeks of this low negative energy. And I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute. I'm on a very good salary. I'm in a very good banking organisation. I get to travel. I get to shadow and mirror people and watch people and learn so much. And if they're getting me to make the teas and coffees, that's fine because I'm on probably a higher salary than the assistants. But here's the thing. I need to change how I'm actually viewing this. And the instigator of this was every 2 weeks I was going to a different city to do a training program for about a week, and I'd stay over. But I was going on the train, and before my train had arrived, I'd go into the bookshop. And here's the thing, I'm 20, 21 years old, and I wouldn't buy the book. I would go to the same book and I would read a little bit of snippets, and I was like, oh, that's really good. And this was like personal development, by the way, but I didn't know back then. And I was reading all this stuff, and I was like, oh, $9.99. No, I'm not going to buy that. Put it back. And then when I'm there 2 weeks later, I'm going to this bookshop and I'm reading this snippet of a book, and I thought to myself, why don't I just buy the damn book? So I bought the book, and I'm on the train for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I read the book, and oh my gosh, it changed. I would say it changed my life. And I hope you don't ask me what the book is, because I can't remember what it's called. But I've got it on the bookshelf, but I can't remember what it's called. But that changed, because the key thing here was, it was about change your thoughts, change your life, which is what the late Wayne Dyer said. And then I started doing things. So instead of me just turning up to the office very casual, like, trousers, a different mismatch of a top, no jewelry, no makeup, not bothering with my hair, I literally went to a shop, got all my work suits, got really nice jewelry, started putting my hair up, made an effort, to the point where people in the banking office said to me, are you going for a job interview? Oh my gosh, why are you so smart? What are you doing? And then I bought the Financial Times newspaper, which I didn't do ever before. And I started reading it. I didn't understand it. Trust me, I didn't understand it. I was reading it. But I'm sure I probably looked intelligent. So it's the way people were then perceiving me, because I was dressed the part. I was reading the stuff. So did they ask me for teas and coffees to make that day? And if they did, I literally just ignored them. You can go make your own tea and coffee, the kettle's there. So in answer to the question, because I know this is very long-winded, a lot of the directors then saw what was going on, and they literally said to me, would you like to come out on a client meeting? Would you like to come and take the notes? Would you like to come and do this? So I started doing that. And there was a lot of resistance with the assistants in the office, a lot of resistance, because this is where you get the jealousy, and then it forms the imposter syndrome, like, oh, who am I? I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not good enough. I'm assistant to an assistant, and I'm doing all of this with all these directors going out, so maybe I shouldn't. And you've got that whole mindset dilemma, like, should I do this? Should I not do this? So then the key thing then was, I pushed myself to apply for an internal vacancy. So I didn't get the first one, but I got the second one. And even when I applied for the job, and this is the key thing here, because sometimes we think we can't do it. We don't have that qualification. We don't have that experience. We don't have what it takes. But if you do it anyway and you just try. So I tried. I filled out the application, and everything it required of me, Sammy, it was like, nope, don't have 5 years experience. Nope. Don't have a clue what that is. Nope, but I can learn it. Don't know this. My manager looked at the application and said, well, you can give it a try, but I'm very doubtful. So I went to the interview with no expectations, literally. No expectations of getting the position, other than the job is actually 2 hours away from where I am living with my parents, and I don't really want to move. I want the job in the actual city that I'm in right now, in the same office. That's all I kind of put out there in my mind. I went for the interview, I performed, I was really successful, and then guess what? They said, you've got the job, which was then my whole 18-year banking career in that particular department, financial markets. This was a caveat. They said, you've got the job, but I said, okay, what's the but we don't want to offer you the job here, which was 2 hours away from where I was living. Can we offer you the job in the same office that you're in right now? I was like, yeah, that's brilliant. So I got a 35% pay rise, and then 2 years later I got a 45% pay rise, which is absolutely amazing. So the key thing here, what I really realized was that you can be around different types of people in your working environment, but what you've got to watch is that their energy doesn't infuse in your energy to bring your energy down, to stop you then from believing in yourself, from feeling that you can do things, from really taking that leadership role, so from activating your unstoppable confidence, because this is the knock-on effect that can happen. So you have to build yourself up and be around those people that are shining in the organization compared to the people that are like, I'm going to call it like the victim people that, oh, I've been in this job role for 20 years, everything's bad, this is bad, that's bad, the weather's bad, everything's bad, the doom and gloom energy. So, and you do get a lot of that, and it can drill you down. But then if you go into that with the perspective of like gratitude, having affirmations, reading the right books, being around the right people, progressing your career path, you can really do it. You really can. So sorry about that. It's very long-winded,
No, I
but I just
love
wanted
that.
to, yeah.
When you were describing filling out the application and you're like, no, no, I've done that. Because it's the
Yeah.
only way I would regret it is if I didn't apply at all. If
Yeah.
I could get an interview and show them how much I care, how eager I am to learn,
Yeah.
amazing. If not, I understand because I didn't meet the criteria.
Yeah.
I love that. I really do. One of the things that came to mind when we're talking about our belief systems around
Yeah.
money is the opposite end of the spectrum. So there are people who maybe your clients have watched who always had money. They were trust fund kids, if you will,
Yeah.
and they were never concerned about it and perhaps treated it as quite trivial. It's always going to be there, whatever, spent it whenever they wanted
Yeah.
and weren't smart about it. So, that being the opposite end of the spectrum, of course, when you're saying just see it as it's always going to be there, abundance, abundance, maybe a lot of people, their minds go to those individuals that
Yeah.
trivialized and maybe spent it all away without being sustainable. So how do you distinguish that and find that balance of it wants to stay in my bank too?
Yeah. 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 There's a few things that are coming to my mind straight away because with that, it's like, first of all, it's about having that appreciation, having that gratitude, I'm going to say, first of all, of
Totally.
the money that you actually have. Okay. So whether it's like somebody, and I'm going to call it like the silver spoon, if I'm allowed to, like, that they've, inherited it or they've just had it always. So they just feel like, they can just spend it. They don't have to think about it. But then what happens if it just all then goes? So it comes to, first of all, it's really understanding what is your relationship with money like, first of all. Is it a case of like, and I'm going to give you the example of, say, like the lottery winner. Okay, because this is always a really good example. So,
Yeah.
somebody that's put the ticket on, they've won the lottery and they've had all of this money come in, and then all of a sudden it's gone. They've bought things, they've bought things for other people, they've given some of the money away, they've spent it on holidays, lavish things, and then
You don't
within the
understand the
space of
tax.
yeah, within the space of like 6 to 12 months, they've got nothing to show for it. Well, probably they've got the nice house, but the bank account certainly doesn't reflect a millionaire, person that's won the lottery because there's nothing there left because it's gone. And this comes back down to, and I'm going to go because this is really strongly programming and the belief system, the limiting beliefs around money, which again on 4 levels: the childhood pre-programming, the past life programming, the ancestral DNA, and also the soul path level. And it could be that, it's not safe to have money, so they have all of this money. And I've experienced this with clients before. They have like business clients, they have like, high pay ticket clients that have come to them. So they have clients come to them, they have their bank account, which is flowing with abundance. But then all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 weeks later, they've blown it. On various things, jewelry, handbags, lavish trips abroad, all of this stuff. But they don't seem to keep the money in the bank account. Even though I'm talking like high 5-figure sums, they can't keep the money in the bank account. And the reason is, when I've worked with these clients, a lot of the time is it comes down to money isn't safe for me to keep. I'm not worthy of having this money. Rich people are greedy. And it could be from something where I can think of in my mind with one of my clients. Back then, when she was a child, grandparents said something negative to her about her wanting to take some sort of money out when she was going out. I think she was going out with her friends and she wanted to take some money in her handbag, and her grandma said something, and it formed that negative view. I shouldn't have this money in my handbag because I don't deserve this. I'm not worthy of this. So over time, because they've had that memory and it's stored deep in the subconscious, every time then they have money, it's bringing back that childhood trigger of, you don't need that. You're not worthy of that. I'm not worthy of this money. I can't keep this money. It's not safe for me to keep money. I'm not going to get my parents' approval or family's approval if I have this money. So it goes. So it all comes down to that subconscious programming of having to feel safe with money, even if, the person has inherited the money, like the lottery winner, for example, or, that they've just had money and wealth in the family. It comes down to their own personal, individual experience and also their past life experience to do with money. And I find that as well, looking at their astrology chart as well. So it's really fascinating.
I mean, it's all polyvagal theory, right? We're not
Yeah.
able to move toward abundance unless we feel safe and our hierarchy
Yeah.
of needs is met. And that's why regulation and healing are key, because you can't do all of this expansion if you're still in survival mode.
Yeah.
So, wow, yeah. And the do you think that there's an aspect of people, I'm sure it's another agreement that people have with themselves or that was subconsciously
Yeah.
programmed into them, was that if I don't earn it, I don't deserve it. And
Yeah.
so maybe there are kids who inherited money but don't want it. They want to go out and have their own career and earn it. Or the lottery
Yeah.
winners, maybe they feel like they don't deserve it because they didn't earn it.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
do you have to say about that as somebody who's manifested so many things just by
Yeah.
calling into a radio and whatnot?
But yeah, that is definitely a thing, because a lot of the times I do get a lot of clients that come to me and it's like, yes, they have to be seen to have earned that, like whether it's through a job. But the key thing here as well is which comes up a lot is I have to work hard for my money. So it's not a case of, the money just comes, whether it's through the inheritance or some other places, or whether they have to go out and literally earn their money through a corporate job, or whether it's through a business, but they have to work hard. So when they think, okay, I have to work hard for my money, and a lot of this is generational in terms of like, what their parents thought about it. I've got to work hard, you've got to study hard, you've got to get a well-paid job, you've got to work hard, all of this. And it comes from the whole DNA ancestral chain of grandparents, great-great-grandparents and all of that. But then when you think in terms of how they're actually behaving, they have to work hard for their money. So they work long hours. So even, for example, if it's easy, like, and I've had this personally, okay, because I actually do have healing on myself every 2 weeks, because as an intuitive energy healer, I'm not perfect. Even though I've been on this journey for 19 years, I'm not perfect. Still things trigger me, not as much as they used to, but things can sometimes trigger me. Back in the day when I was, 19 years ago, when I started my personal development journey, I'd look at certain wealthy people and successful people and then have a negative view, like, look at them. Are they showing off? And I used to think, it was really bad for people to show and splash the cash and have the wealth. And it did actually formulate a little bit of jealousy within me, so I'm just being raw and honest here. And this was a factor, like a big factor in myself, which then I had to heal. I had to go down that vulnerability route to think, okay, what is bringing up that jealousy for me? Why is it that I feel, sad with other people's successes when actually I can actually have that success? Even though I've manifested all this stuff, seeing top successful people back then 19 years ago was like, no, that's really wrong, I want that as well. How can I get that? But then it was changing the energetics, going on that healing journey, changing that whole jealousy to now, over the years, it's really strengthened. So when I see somebody, across social media and they're like sharing they've just landed high ticket clients, or they're on a private jet somewhere, I actually think, wow, good for you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what that does?
Enough
That
for all of
lights me
us.
up inside, and it shows me actually what is possible, because I believe anything is possible. And I've had clients that have come to me, and I shared across social media a while ago that, in terms of my car and, my beautiful showroom home that we bought that was absolutely amazing. And I shared a bit of my story, and I had some people that come to me that was quite negative. And I said to them, that is great, but that has nothing to do with me, really. It's something to do with something inside you that's triggering you and bringing out all of the insecurities. And that is great, because I'm great that, I feel great that I've helped you on that journey, even though you're feeling negative because of me. It's not actually about me or my story or what I've generated. It's something inside you that's triggered, something that we have to work through on the healing journey. And then when people listen to me reframe it, because they were literally probably trying to shoot me down and go, oh, it's your fault, you shouldn't have that, and why are you sharing that across social media? And I had somebody today, for example, that said, oh, your account looks really dodgy, your profile is like really dodgy. And I'm like, well, that's great, because it's something inside you has triggered something, that's great, because it's bringing it to the surface, and that means it needs to be worked through. And that's a difference, again, like what I mentioned, between the scarcity mindset and the abundant mindset. And I haven't always had the abundant mindset, even though, manifestation and everything else, because I have had triggers, in particular, like with relationships. Back then, years ago, when I was at university, I thought I had this belief that men will not marry successful women. Men just want to marry somebody that's a housewife, and that was a lot of, probably because of my background being Asian, probably a lot of that instilled from generational patterns and generational beliefs that, you can work hard. I mean, my mom, she had an education, but she had to stop her education before she was 16 because the done thing was that the ladies, my mom and the female siblings had to stay at home and they had to cook, they had to clean, they had to maintain the household. My mom couldn't have qualifications because she was a woman, and that was instilled within me to such a level that when I started doing this, my healing journey, it was literally taking me right the way back raw to the point of, I'm not going to get married because I've got a degree, I've got all these like different ideas and ambitions, and I think I should tone it down because nobody's going to marry me. Because if I get a job, nobody's going to want to marry me because they just want me to be a housewife. So why should I even get my degree? Why should I even have my graduate job? This was a big dilemma when I started working in the banking industry, because I thought I'm just going to be single for my whole entire life because nobody's going to want to marry me because I'm too successful. Okay, so
you shouldn't have to choose
let's sabotage my success. And it was a downward spiral to the point where I was like, no. And, like back then when I mentioned about the train station and I got that book was one of the first things that, started that personal development journey and the healing, because I had to heal all this stuff. Because if I didn't, it would affect everything, relationships, love, money, everything. And the relationship you have with money directly corresponds to the relationship you have with yourself, with your partner, with everything in your world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've gone across different tangents there.
No, I'm so resonating with all of it. I actually wrote, it's called A Little Book for a Better Life, and the subtitle is Infrastructure. And it's what you were saying, you have to build the foundations with yourself before anything of that abundant nature can happen for you. You have to have the self-beliefs. You have to, reprogram your mind. You have to work with your neuroplasticity and just do the work and go within. And it's so funny that you were talking about how, jealousy comes up, because I knew somebody that owned a Ferrari and they like their whole life wanted one, earned it, and loved to drive with the top down. It was like a hobby. And they said there were two types of people that either yelled from their cars at him, stopped him at the gas station or wherever he was. One type was, wow, dude, this is awesome. Can I take a picture? Oh my God, that's so cool. And the other type was, how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you buy this car when there are so many people struggling?
Yes. Because it's bringing out their own insecurities. It's bringing out their own scarcity. You see? Totally.
Yes, and there's so much you need to feel safe in order to thrive. So
totally.
I personally definitely have some agreements. Like I'm not opposed to having money, but I am opposed to, say, I've been given a gift and it has like a brand name on it, like Dior. I know that's not the nicest of brands, but I have this like serious aversion to wearing that in public because I don't want people to think that I think that's what matters. And so that's totally an agreement that I have.
That's all to do with judgment. I would say being accepted. And also, if we got down to it, there could be possible abandonment. There's lots of different areas. Not saying it is, but it could be lots of different areas, which then could actually even stop you from generating even more wealth, even more income, even though it was a gift, but actually stopping you, and also like keeping you playing small because of the fear of maybe being accepted by other people and possible abandonment. If I have this, if I portray myself like this, I come across this at Sammi with a lot of people, especially business owners, a lot of people. Like if I have the car, if I have the handbag, if I have this, then all of the people that I once knew, they probably don't want to know me. They won't accept me. They'll abandon me. I won't feel loved. I won't feel like cherished, undermine everything, my worthiness, my self-value, all of this stuff. And it's a downward spiral. But something like that you've mentioned, click of the fingers, noticing a pattern like that, noticing what the inner critic says, that's a starting point for the healing journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to reframe it as I love beautiful things. And
Yeah.
anything that I see that is my definition of beautiful, I
Yeah.
shouldn't hesitate to wear,
Yeah.
especially if it's
Totally.
already in my
Totally.
closet.
On that note, should we mention the cards?
Yeah, that was where I was getting to next. Don't worry about the timing. Sometimes we run over and you got me very excited. So I love your energy.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I would like to hear a little bit more about the tools that you use for
Yeah.
these things, like your astrology and your cards. If you could, I
Yeah.
know you made the cards yourself,
Yay.
so I would love to see them. And
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I am a natural psychic medium, which means from probably around about the age of 8 years old that I can recall, I could see, hear, feel spirit. And over the years, I've just developed that even further, as well as the intuitive energy healing side of things, the manifestation side of things. And over the last few years, the astrology side of things as well. But I came out of my banking corporate career back in 2020 to start my entrepreneurial journey. Part of that journey, one of my dreams and wishes was to put together a pack of oracle cards, like my own oracle cards. And then it was one of those things which is like, oh, is that just a wish? Is it just a dream? Oh, I didn't take any action on this, and that's the difference between actually really wanting to do something and just having a wish, which it's okay, I can lose weight or I don't have to. It doesn't really matter. It's really having that awareness, going back to the first essential abundance key. So what happened was I was on stage on this event, and this was on the 11th of the 11th, 2023. So it was back a couple of years ago now. And it just came to me, an insight, like, you need to put these cards together. So what happened was I went on a whole journey of about 9 months. And after the 9 months, I realized that actually, when you're having a baby as a woman, the pregnancy is 9 months. So it was perfect timing. And so I birthed these soul alignment oracle cards. So they're basically 45 cards in the pack, it gives you soulful wisdom, and it supports you to inspire, to transform, and also to evolve your life. And they're also linked into the main 9 chakras. So you've got the 7 chakras, which is like, the ones in the middle, the crown, your third eye chakra, your throat chakra, your heart, your solar plex, and then you've got your sacral, which is the orange, and then you've got your root chakra. But then it also has the earth star chakra, and then at the top you've also got the star chakra as well, the soul star chakra. So there's 45
it's all
cards
nines for you.
in the pack, which I sell on my website. Yay! And
9
you also get a
chakras.
guidebook as well, which talks about why the cards work, like linking to the law of attraction, the law of vibration and energy, how the chakra system works, how you can give yourself a reading, how to read for other people, how to do a spread, like a deck, how to analyze different things, questions, ask questions and things. And then each card has a particular page in the book which gives you more guidance. And there's also a bonus at the end, which is a free bonus for anybody that has the pack. But would you like, Sammy, for me to do a quick reading for the listeners?
Sure, sure.
Yay. Okay, awesome. So what I'm going to do is, these are 45 cards and they're all linking to the various chakras. So all I want you to do right now, if you're listening as well, and also Sammy, so just close your eyes and just take 3 deep breaths. So just breathing in through your nose for the count of 3. Hold, and then exhaling out through your mouth for the count of 3. And I want you to just focus on your inner and outer breath. And I'm just shuffling the cards while you do that. And in your mind, I want you to just think about, and if you're listening as well, just think about a particular question that you have that you want answers to. So a particular question, and it can be in any area of your life. And if you're not sure of that question, you can just ask for something more general. Like I would just like a general reading. So it can be specific, it can be general, and then just have that in the forefront of your mind. And if you want, you can open your eyes now, but just think about your question in your mind and just continue to take some deep breaths. And what I'm doing now collectively is I'm tuning into everybody that's listening right now and in the future across all timelines and generations. And I'm just going to pull the first card here. So this one is yellow, so it links into your solar plex chakra. And this is personal power. Now, isn't that quite on key with what we've been talking about, Sammy? So I'm just going to
Yeah.
read this card to each and every one of you. So I embrace my excellence and I am grateful for all of my achievements in life. I shape my destiny and life mission with strength, assisting me to manifest my desires with determination. So that links into your solar plex. So that's card number 30. So I'm just going to go to the guidebook. So card number 30, just to give you a more in-depth reading, is we picked this card today, especially for you listening to this beautiful podcast with Sammy, and also for Sammy as well. So we picked this card for you to remind you all that you have of everything that you have accomplished in your life. So this is about being grateful for all the things that you've accomplished in your life. Standing in the energy of gratitude will help to uplift your energy into thanks and appreciation, and this will help you manifest all that you desire more easily going forward. Recognize you are worthy and successful, so feel the personal power radiating from within you. You are in control of your destiny, and the driving force within you will ensure you fulfill in your life your mission and your purpose. This is a reminder to continue your path forward with determination and seeing in your mind's eye that all that you desire will turn into a reality. So there you go. So it's about
Wow. Can I
activating
tell you
your
what my
personal
question
power.
was?
Yay!
Because it was so amazing, like a direct response. My question was, what can I be doing? How can I reach more people and help them heal? And it's
Wow.
just keep going, find your
Yay.
personal power, stay determined, appreciate what you've already done. So I feel
Yay.
very empowered. Definitely. That is awesome. Thank you so
Oh,
much for
that's
that.
amazing. That's
And I'm
amazing. And if
sure all of our
anybody,
listeners,
yeah,
nobody is proud enough of themselves and the things they've done. So
yeah,
hopefully the listeners resonated with that and take a moment to recognize all of their
yeah,
accomplishments.
definitely. Oh, awesome. I love that. I really do.
Thank you so much for
Awesome.
coming on.
You're welcome. Would you
If
like me to share the link
Yeah,
for
oh
this?
please. I was just gonna say
Yeah.
if anybody listening wants to be able to reach you, I'll put everything in the show notes, but if you have anything you'd like to mention or any tidbits that you just want to get across before we sign off.
Yay, yay. I would say as a closing point is just remember that you can actually do anything you put your heart, your mind, your soul, your spirit, your body, everything into. Like we said, with your personal power, you really can activate that inner personal power and also reach your true greatness. So I will give the links to Sammy as well. If you do want to purchase your own soul alignment card deck, you can. And for each and every one of the listeners that do that, I will also throw in a free gift, which I'm not going to say what it is, but it'll be a free product gift with the actual soul alignment cards, where the ripple effect to the whole entire world will be priceless. Okay, that's all I'm going to say, but I'll also put a free gift in here as well with every purchase. But the last thing I want to mention is I have got coming up my free Manifesting Money and Abundance Challenge. So it's over 5 days. We're starting on the 13th of October, but I also run them periodically. So depending upon when you're listening to this podcast, just literally click the link below in the show notes and you can see when the next challenge will be. It's literally taking you on a 5-day soul discovery journey where the first day is all about awareness, which is the first abundance essential key. And then we literally building the foundations so that you can really strengthen your money mindset and open yourself up to really achieving your true greatness, where I always say anything is possible. So thank you for having me on your show, Sammy. And for all the listeners, feel free to connect with me, Sharan Sammi, across Facebook, Instagram, and also now TikTok, which I'm very new on. But it'd be great to connect with you. And also, let me know how you got on with the actual card reading as
Yeah,
well. And
comment
yeah,
about
so
your card reading.
thank you so much,
Awesome.
Sammy.
Thank you, Sharon. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope to
Thank
stay in
you.
touch. Sharon, thank you so much for coming today to share your story, your gifts, and your wisdom. You've shown us that abundance isn't something we have to wait for. It's something that we choose to actively align with, and that true transformation happens when we continue to combine belief, healing, and bold action. For anyone listening who feels the nudge to go deeper into this work, Sharan has a special offer just for Shine In and Out listeners. You can find it in the show notes or head to sharansammi.com to work with her directly. If this episode resonated, please take a moment to leave a review, share with a friend, and subscribe. We love hearing what opened up for you, so feel free to comment as well. Thank you so much, and keep shining. I want to take a quick moment to share something that I've been pouring my heart and my time into. It's an app called Epitome. Think of it as your one-stop shop for wellness, not just another app with tips or trackers, but a full dashboard for your best life. Inside, you'll find curriculum, pre-recorded content you can return to anytime, journaling tools, and even AI-mediated coaching that grows with you and helps you schedule all of this self-care into your daily life. It brings together the habit and ritual creation, integrated calendaring, and mindset practices all in one place. My vision is simple. I don't want you juggling 5 different apps and a dozen notebooks just to stay on track. Epitome is designed to be a central hub that ensures you don't just set wellness goals, you live them. It's everything you need to stick with the practices that transform you into the best version of yourself, curated, cohesive, and right at your fingertips. So keep listening as this dream unfolds, because soon you'll be one of the first to test it. Thank you.